Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for coming to the Business, Accounting, Insurance, and Legal Bail Workshop that has been sponsored by the Calvert County Minority Business Alliance and C4, Calvert Concepts. And my name is Dawn Tucker. I'm just getting as a membership chair for the Calvert County Minority Business Alliance. And we are very excited for our speakers, but we also have our Vice President and our Secretary, and Ms. Lisa Height-Gross, who is also a member, along with Haley and Anna Tucker, who are also members, H&H Marketing and Loving Care / Lisa Height-Gross Realtor Extraordinaire. And Michael Kent. So Michael is going to come up and tell us a little bit about C4. And then we're going to have you both introduce yourselves, and then we're going to ask you to provide some insights on these different topics based upon legal matters that you feel that are important for small businesses and individuals. Michael.
Thank you. Dawn, as you're saying, Calvert Concepts has only been around for about 5 years or so. The initial concept behind it was to help Calvert County minorities, people that have been here for generations, but had not built up any generational wealth, get into a position where they could own their own homes here or own businesses. So that was the initial concept of it, and then it sort of expanded from there. And we took a look at a lot of the people that were working here in Calvert County, but still not able to afford to live here. So there were a lot of workers here in the county, the hospital workers, police officers, teachers, a lot of other people that were commuting back and forth from other counties because they could not afford to live here in Calvert County. So as long as those people had some type of link here to Calvert, family members or someone else, that they had grown up here and then had to move somewhere else because they couldn't afford to live here, Calvert Concepts was designed to help these people build that wealth to build a home here. And the idea behind the Calvert Concepts is that people sign a contract, they agree to work, and a certain amount of their money is set aside, and they can, I think it's the $3,000 a year now, that Calvert Concepts will match the money that they put into the fund. So that after 3 years, 5 years, they have this extra money then that they can use towards the building of a home or go ahead and complete their business aspirations. So that's essentially Calvert Concepts, and it doesn't take anything from the individuals. It's some donations, and I forget who, we just got another grant from someone for $15,000 to keep the program going. So that's essentially, and it's all the information is here at all the libraries, not just Prince Rotary Library, the others. Anytime anybody has any questions about what's going on or how to apply or anything, just ask one of your librarians and they'll have the paperwork to fill out and help you with it. So appreciate you watching tonight, and if you have any questions on Calvert Concepts, a lot of people in this room have been involved with it, either as part of the administration or with, what was your title, Roseanne? You were a
liaison.
Liaison. So they also provide people to help you with whatever you're doing with your business and moving forward.
Might be called a mentor as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's your turn.
You can if you like. It's up to you. I'm just going to say
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tanya Baker. I am an independent associate owner with Legal Shield. We are a 53-plus-year-old company and North America's leading prepaid legal services provider. I've been with Legal Shield for 16 years now. And it's just blessed me, it's blessed my family, it's allowed me the opportunity to bless others. I was telling the young lady earlier, my story is that my mom was shot when I was 10. So I understand what it's like being priced out of the justice system. When the thought of expense outweighs a phone call to find out a word like contingency, we have a problem. And that can be on the individual side, and definitely on a small business owner side. So we're here to help protect them. We protect them in all 50 states and even 5 to 6 provinces of Canada. So I'm just blessed to be able to share what it is that we do and how we do it and how we help them.
First, I'd like to thank Tanya for calling me a young lady. My name is Lisa Sanders. I am a resident of Calvert County. I am an attorney. I have my own private practice with my husband. Our office is actually located in Prince George's County, but we serve Southern Maryland, Prince George's, Charles, Calvert, St. Mary's, a little bit of Montgomery, if people really twist my arm, and Anne Arundel. But we like to call ourselves a Main Street law firm. I'm a mom and pop shop, if you will. So I have a number of small business clients. Most of you currently, we do a lot of estate planning, wills, trusts, estates, guardianships, but we have done, throughout my lifetime, I've done government contracts, I've done small business clients, I've done formation for them, I've done contracts for them, I've done litigation, I've done mediation. So I'm hoping, I'm trying to decide what I could do for you all today as we're discussing what small businesses need. You need a lot of the services that Legal Shield can give you, but you also need some services that I can give you. Even if you do them in concert, I think that's okay, but starting your business is one thing, but ending your business is something you also need to think about. And sometimes how you're going to wind down at the end, you've got to set that up at the beginning. So when you're even picking the format you're going to use, the people in your business you're going to trust, how you're going to establish chain of command in your business, all that type of thing. And whether or not you have any type of operating agreement, something that dictates how your business runs, particularly if you aren't able to be there. So I'm hoping I can give you some information on that tonight as well. And then answer questions, because unfortunately I have been around a while, so I've seen a lot. And actually, this year is my 40th year of practicing law. So there's very little I have not seen happen. So hopefully we can answer some questions. So what kind of format do you want to start?
Well, let's have Tommy start with some of the services that Legal Shield provides for individuals and businesses, and then we'll go over to Lisa, and you can tell us some of the things that you were sharing about starting your business and moving it towards with financial planning to end your business. And then, with other questions, does anyone have any burning questions that you would like answered? Any nonprofit? We have nonprofits. Some of that information, I think, it would be very helpful to talk about the difference between a nonprofit, setting it up, and a for-profit. If there's something else, I don't want to speak for anybody, but yes, ma'am.
So the difference in the need to do an LLC versus I'm a solo entrepreneur and I haven't done an LLC, so I'm just curious.
So some of the issues that you would take in terms of deciding on what format you want involve a couple of things. The primary thing being liability. If, as a sole proprietor, if I'm a sole proprietor, if my mobile dog unit runs over somebody, I'm on the hook. So somebody could sue me directly. If my business, Mobile Dog LLC, Mobile Dog Inc., Mobile Dog, whatever you want to call it, is the owner of that truck, the business is on the hook, not my personal item. So that's one thing in terms of trying to choose your format, what you want. Most small businesses like the flexibility of being an LLC as opposed to being a corporation, because a corporation, C Corp as the IRS calls them, has some very specific rules that you have to follow. You can elect to be an S Corp, which relaxes those rules, but over time, that has become less used in the LLC, which is a limited liability company, that's kind of taken in place for a lot of small businesses because it's even simpler than the S Corp. It doesn't involve a bunch of extra forms that you have to do. But again, what I always recommend to clients Connie and I were talking before, do not be penny wise and pound foolish. I know it costs money to sit down with legal counsel, but it's worth the time to sit down in the end and really talk through what you want to do. Because some businesses, it's a bigger deal, whether you're an LLC or an Inc. Some of them, it's a bigger deal if you're a sole proprietor or not. I mean, some businesses have more risk, which means you want to insulate your personal life as much as possible from the business life, and some don't. Some it's not, and some you don't have a choice. Again, as a lawyer, I'm always on the hook because that's just how legal licenses are set up. So I don't have as many options as say somebody who's running a mobile dog unit, but you do want to look at, okay, so what if the dog falls off the wash stand? Am I now liable for the broken leg of this prize dog? You know, how do I insulate myself? So those are the questions that you have to kind of work through when you decide, do I want to be an LLC? Do I want to be a sole proprietor? And there's reasons sometimes sole proprietor is just the easiest. That's why a lot of people do it, but it also probably leaves you the most vulnerable.
Thank you.
I'm so glad she answered that. I told her earlier, listen, I tell people all the time, I'm not an attorney. They will not let you play one on TV. Wish they would, but they don't. Again, I'm blessed to be able to work with Legal Shield. I wanted to become an attorney after what happened to my mom. But coming across this membership, it made perfect sense to me. Just to be able to pick up the phone, call someone, without having to worry about getting a bill every time I talk to them, made perfect sense to me. But then the opportunity for me to be able to go out and share it with others was what really caught my attention. Because at the end of the day, I can make a living while making a great difference. Because I know what it was like, again, to be Christ-like. Okay? So some of the services that Legal Shield provides for an individual, you know, just again, being able to pick up the phone, that consultation on an unlimited number of personal matters. Call one time a day, 50 times a month, I don't have to worry about it. You know, ask the questions. My mother used to always tell us there is no super question, except the ones that's not asked. So just find out. We need to know what the legal answer is today, because the law is legal, it's not logical.
Exactly. Absolutely.
The law is legal, you know. So what I think, what I write, what I say is interpreted different by the law. So you always need to know what the legal answer is today. Okay? You have contract document review. I asked someone the other day, who looked over your contract for you? Oh, I looked it over. Oh, I didn't know you went to law school. And I was serious, I didn't know. She was like, I didn't. I was like, okay. You know, you're using someone else's attorney all the time when you sign a contract and you haven't had someone look it over in your best interest. We do that for you, include it in your membership. You know, we do estate planning as well, and I'm not going to speak too much on that because we see some talk about that. But I never knew how important those were until my mom passed 2 years ago. I didn't have to argue with my sisters about what needed to be done. She said what she could say. My children know not to hook me up to a hot monitor nor a microwave, okay? Because I've said what I can say. They're already grieving. I don't want them to have to deal with any other thing. Mom has already said, let's just honor her wishes. And that's what we were able to do. And it made it so much easier to just have to move forward. From 18, because the state says they're adults. Says you are adults. You need to have it done. We had a member, her son, got killed by tractor trailer. We talked about this. They didn't want to talk to her at the hospital because she had no power of attorneys. And every state is different. When the award came, She who had raised him 18, almost 19 years, only got half, because they gave the other half to the father who had not seen him since he was 4. So the law is legal, it's not optional. And it just it happens. I went and sat in the dentist chair. They wanted to know if I had healings. They want to know if I had health, because people have had heart attacks in the dentist chair. Things happen. So they want to know. And it's important. We have moving traffic. I've used this, it does work. I was in Dallas, got a ticket. It wasn't I almost appeared, but those 2 points, listen, I didn't want to. I took a picture of that ticket, sent it to the law firm here, and because they protect us in all 40 states, 50 states, sent it to the law firm in Dallas, and an attorney went to court for me. $80 in court costs. I would have paid the fine and the court costs because it's a one-time fee. But those 2 points could have cost me for the next 3 to 7 years. So I had no points on my license, and my insurance company still thinks I'm a great guy. So they're not here to fix tickets for us. I'm not here to say that, okay? But it does help. It does help. We're here to help you save time, help you save money. We're what you call a life events legal plan. Because we live in life and events are going to happen. Bad things happen to good people all the time. But then a lot of good things happen to us too. When we buy those homes, have somebody look over those where we're paying as realtors, we know. You're paying an attorney to do some of that paperwork. You have access to real estate document review with this membership. So they can do some of that work and save you some money on their real estate side.
So Tanya, you also work with the county. What do you do to support the county with your contracts with the county for Legal Shield?
We offer it to the county as an employee benefit. I also work with not only just the county, but the school system here. So we offer it holistically to the teachers, the educators, everybody in the school system, and for the county government employees. And they get all these benefits. They have access to our ID Share product, which is one of the most comprehensive in the country. We were named #1 by Money Magazine the last 3 years in a row for our comprehensive restoration. That means just giving a licensed private investigator a power of attorney to go in with you or for you to restore you back to pre-theft status. Identity theft can be a very scary thing. It can cost you your livelihood if the wrong person steals your identity. Because it's not just about our money anymore. 21 to 30% is financial. You have this AI thing now. You have synthetic, where they'll take a piece of all of the different pieces of your identity and make a whole entire different person. Driver's license, medical. Medical can be deadly. If someone steals your medical information, uses it, all of their vitals is uploaded to the MIB. But that's where your information is. So their vitals is attached to you. Because they have your card. They just know they can shoot. But I go in needing a surgery and someone stole my information. They transfuse me with the wrong blood, you can't fix that. Unless they have the same blood type, you know what I mean? However, that's not always good. That's the majority of the time it's not the case. So we offer them the legal plan with this. We offer them the identity theft. For a small business owner, we do that consultation on an unlimited number of business issues. We help them with things like employee handbooks. We do document and contract review for them. We do debt collection for them. Because a lot of people have accounts receivable that people are just, especially since COVID, people are just closing the door on them. Like, okay, whatever, what are you going to do? I owe you this money, what are you going to do? They don't care nothing about my baby book stationery. But when they get that nice paper with their partners across the top and all the associates down the side, that's a different story. Because see, then it doesn't go to customer service, that goes to the legal department. When the law firms Miss Lisa makes a phone call, it goes to the legal department. She don't talk to customer service. Does that make sense? So it makes all the difference in the world to have access. And on a monthly fee. We give them big business resources on a small business budget, and we're not here to replace wonderful people like Ms. Lisa. We work in tandem with wonderful people like her all the time. Because you've had attorneys all your life, some people, their whole business life, that their family, But the question is, how often do you use them? Do you pick and choose when you use them? If we can help you holistically, you can use them for the big things, if that's what you want to do. And we're not here to replace anything that you have. We're here to add to what you got. So it's just a beautiful thing. I love helping. The business owner can protect himself with the legal plan, him and his family. He can protect his business, put a shield of protection around his business, and he can also offer it to his employees as well. He looks like a hero to them. Because at the end of the day, they have things going on that causes them to be at work but not at work. So it increases productivity and presenteeism and reduces that absenteeism. They're not handling their legal things on the business company time.
So just to piggyback off what Tanya said, the law really is not necessarily logical, but it is legal, and so you do have to follow it. What I always try to tell people is that it's a different language. Just like math is a different language, just like French is a different language, legalese is a different language. You may think you know what the word contract means, but what it means in a court of law may be very different. You may, and I always tell people, whatever you saw on TV, it might be right, but it probably isn't. And I am going to put in my one plug. Please, for the love of God, do not trust what you get from AI. I'm going to make a side anecdote. Nothing too big. I had a client call me a few weeks ago wanting to get this thing that he saw online was now available in Maryland for estate planning purposes. And I was like, that's interesting, I never heard about that. Oh yeah, it went into effect October 1st. So, okay, I gotta find something. Maybe I missed it. I'm not infallible. I'm practically perfect, but not entirely perfect. So I started investigating. I'm like, I cannot find the statute anywhere. I went to the Maryland Code. It's not in there. I went to, the website, and then I did a search. Okay, maybe I'm just looking in the wrong place, and then popped up. Okay, this went into effect October. I found it on another lawyer's website. Went into effect October 1st. Long story short, I went to the source, the General Assembly. When did this bill come out? This bill was introduced last year, never made it out of committee, not voted on, never became law, not signed by the governor. It is not a law. But one line had been picked up by some AI, replicated, thrown in. Now I know because I'm a lawyer, they'll do your website for you. They'll say, oh, we'll do the content for the newsletter and the blog. You don't have to keep that updated. We'll do that for you. So I'm sure they had that. They didn't look at it. They didn't read it. They're like, oh, I guess that's so. And this slide got picked up and replicated in 5 different sites. So it took me about an hour to track it down, but if you don't track it down, you're out there flying blind, thinking, oh yeah, I can do this thing, and now you've pulled the form from the AI generated form offline, and you ran it in, this is valid in the state of Maryland. You don't know that if you don't talk to somebody. If you're a member of Legal Shield, call them and ask them, because if you call me, yeah, I may charge you. And you're like, I don't work at somebody said to do that, please then call Legal Shield, because you need to talk to somebody who really knows who's already done that hour of research to make sure whether that is true or not true. Because a lot of these things now are getting replicated so fast online that it is very difficult to tell you. You can go online and type, should I be an LLC, should I be a sole proprietor? And the AI-generated Google Assistant will give you its assessment of what makes more sense for you. But they haven't talked to you. They haven't sat down with you. They haven't looked at what your specific circumstance is. And you really need to do that. So like I say, don't be penny wise and pound foolish, because how you set up your business today, how you set up your contracts, whether it's an employment contract with your employees, whether it's contracts with your customers, what you put in those, you're going to be stuck with when something goes wrong. And you want to make sure that you have everything documented the way you need to. Because I've been in a unique position to work as in-house counsel for a nonprofit. I work with small business clients. I have my own small businesses. We were not law firms, are also businesses. I've had the chance to see on the front end. It's a lot of fun on the front end to build something and try to put together something and think about all the contingencies, because the back end, when something goes wrong, is not fun at all. And as a business owner, it costs you money. Even if you can win the case, it's costing you money. Contrary to what you might see on TV, the other side doesn't always have to pay your legal fees. In fact, 9 times out of 10, the judge will not order them to do so. So it's still coming out of your pocket. And as a business owner, where I can tell you where you do not want to be is in court. So the way to stay out of court is to do a little extra homework on the front end. Pick the right format that you want, put together, do a contract. Word of mouth is not what we do here in the United States of America. I mean, I took him at his word. We shook hands. Anybody who wants to move so fast that they can't write the stuff down and sign it, that's a problem. Because on the back end, everybody's going to forget that conversation you had 6 months ago. And I know, particularly if you're the only person in your small business, or maybe there's just 2 of you, it gets overwhelming because you're trying to do the thing and then also be the back office and also take out the trash and also make sure there's toilet paper in the restroom and all that stuff. And you're just like, I just don't have time, I don't have time. Make the time. Take the 2 or 3 minutes, even if it's just a confirming email. This confirms our conversation today. That where we said 1, 2, 3, you want to make sure that that's how you're going to protect yourself as a business owner. You got to seek out advice when you can. I'd love for you to come to me, but I want you to go to Tommy too. And maybe you need to go to both of us for different things. Because maybe you want to talk about business succession planning and get into the details and the weeds. We'll go over that a little bit. But you also need to do your formation stuff. So you might want to talk to me about business succession, and we talk about all the different things you can do. And then you might use your Legal Shield membership to go and say, hey, I need to put together an operating agreement with these terms, or I need to do that. Like I said, I would rather have you do it. I'd rather have you do it than do it with me. But at least do it with somebody with a legal background. Templates are the bane of my existence because it's just, there are going to be terms in there that you think you know, but you will not know. Do not assume that you know. Now sometimes the means the. Sometimes the means the. Sometimes, it's big T, the, and not little t, the. You just need somebody to let you in on that last little piece. If I say this, what's this opening up to? Contract review is also very important. People are going to be handing you contracts. A lot of larger businesses do what we call boilerplate. It's basically the same contract for everybody. They just hand it to you and it's like, okay, just sign there. You go right to that little signature page. You gotta read it. I know it's boring, but you really should review it. And because sometimes there's stuff hidden in there. I don't know how many of you are creatives, or you have a product, or maybe you have intellectual property you're working on, or anything. You want to be very cautious about what you're signing, so that your creative work doesn't end up on the internet someplace else. By way of example, my youngest son is in the entertainment industry. I said, boy, if you get a contract and don't run it by your mother or your father, I will get you. But, which he does, I will say he does. He goes for a photo shoot. They think they're just taking photographs. Well, it turns out the photographer is actually a videographer. And she takes their still photos, passes it through AI, and turns them into short movies. Now, maybe you don't care if you're in a short movie, but I'm like, well, are you getting paid for your image to be in that? You gotta read the tiny print. Because you might be signing that away. So those of you in the creative fields, like if you're a writer, songwriter, artist, whatever, you want to talk to somebody about how do I protect myself to make sure my intellectual property, my hard work, doesn't end up benefiting Joe Schmo, across the state, across the country, or sometimes across the world, because sometimes your stuff will end up in Romania being sold, because you don't know where anybody is who's pulling your stuff online. Security, is also an issue if you're using computers, a lot of internet stuff. All small business owners really need to look at security stuff too. I'm not going to pretend like I know how to protect your computer systems. I do not, but from a legal standpoint, I will tell you it's something that you do want to at least, particularly if you are the recipient of any kind of client or customer personal information too, because it's not even just your business; it's now everybody that you do business with too. That's in jeopardy. So at least have some kind of policy in place that if something goes wrong, you can say, well, I had a policy and we followed what we said we were going to do. People's social security numbers, we only take the last 4 digits, or we use them for the one purpose and then we destroy them. Have the employee handbook that you talked about. You have to kind of sit down and think about these policies, so that, because when it's just you, it's not that big a deal, because you know what you're going to do, you know what you're about. But if you've got anybody else working with you, you all want to be in lockstep and make sure everybody is doing the same thing. Because one person messes up, one person leaves the client ID out on the desk, and then that client's ID, somehow gets stolen one way or the other. That could come back to haunt you. That could come back, well, that business didn't secure the information I gave them. So there's a lot more that business owners have to really, and small business owners too. A lot of people, again, from a legal perspective, from a lawyer's perspective, most people, when they want to come sue somebody, I want to sue somebody, I have a case, they want to make money. And I usually tell them, that person was next door to you. They don't have any more money than you do, because we're all in the same place. We're all living. It does not mean that people won't try to sue you. Sometimes people think they're suing. Well, it's not really suing Dawn. It's suing her insurance company, because I know Dawn's got insurance. It doesn't matter, because it's still affecting Dawn. So you want to, again, put some cautions in place, particularly if it's not just you being involved. If it is just you, you need to have a succession plan. what happens if you get hit by a bus? What happens if you get sick and you're out? What happens if you start to show signs of dementia? Like who's the backup to you? Who has the authority to go into your office, talk to your landlord, look at your files, contact your customers, whatever. I mean, like I said, it may just be, oh, she got hit by a bus, now I gotta call the 5 people on her calendar and say she can't make it. But it may also be, she's in the hospital, I don't know how long she's gonna be out. And heaven forbid it's, oh, she passed away, I'm sorry, I don't know anything. All of your money is locked up in a trust account that I don't have access to, so I don't know when we're gonna get that back to you. You wanna have a backup to that in your business. And sometimes you can take care of that based on the structure you have. If you're an LLC, if you're a corporation, you can set up plans in your operating agreement or in your bylaws. If you're a sole proprietor, you just need to have a plan, even if it's memo to the file. If you can't find Lisa, find Norman. If you can't find Norman, these are the next 3 people in line who know where the files are, where the key is, passwords, where the bank accounts are, who's the signatory on the account. Everything has happened. I had one client, her husband was a single member LLC. Her husband was not involved in the business with her. It was her own business, consulting business. She had government contract. She died suddenly of a heart attack. He's already devastated, but now he's got to become the executor of her estate. He goes to Bank of America. She has employees. She has contracts with the government that are still going on. They don't stop, and people are still working. But she's the one who signs the paychecks, and now she's deceased. So he goes to Bank of America. I'm calling them out. Bank of America. Here's my paperwork. I'm a personal representative of the probate estate. And they're like, and? Sorry, we can't help you. Now he's got to figure out, how do I get her employees paid? There's a payroll account. They have the ability to pay them, but nobody has the authority to sign a check. And Bank of America has decided that, I don't know, you're not on the account, so we're not going to do it. I will tell you that happy ending is basically I threatened to take him to court to compel them to do so. And they're like, oh yeah, I guess you're right, he can do it because he's the PR. But that takes 3 months from a legal process for me to deal with that. That's 3 months that her employees didn't get paid. And they're trying to be understanding. The first month, everybody's very understanding. The second and third month, people are starting to look at you like, okay, what's happening? So, a simple, like, this is my alternate, signee for the paychecks. Even giving him that authority, or the office manager, somebody that she worked with, that authority would help. So, again, I know as a small business owner, the tendency is, I gotta do it all. I gotta rein it all in, but you need to have some redundancies in place. You gotta have some backup to what you're doing, because sometimes things happen, and you just know if we learned anything from the pandemic, we should have learned stuff happens. We're being recorded, so I don't want to say what I'm going to say, but stuff happens, and you don't know when it's going to happen, and you don't know how long that problem is going to be in place. So you need to build in some redundancies in your business. And there are legal ways to do it. Some of it is just common sense, practical. You just have to think about it and write it down in a plan. But some of it has a legal component to it. What is my structure? What's the document I need to prepare that says, in my absence, this person does X, Y, Z? Or where do you keep your business documents? Are they in a nicely marked folder or binder behind your desk so somebody can say, oh, there's the corporate documents, let me see what's going on? Or is it in a folder that you did 20 years ago that you think it's in that file cabinet, but it's a dusty file cabinet nobody goes into anymore? Or is it only on your computer? Because if it's only on your computer and your computer is password protected, how are we going to find it? How do I get to it to even find out what the policy, what the game plan is? So again, as some of this is from experience. As a small business owner, I know our heads are everywhere. All right, you're juggling 12 balls at once, and sometimes it's like, okay, I've got the document done, saved, and it's there, but you haven't printed it out, you haven't signed it, you haven't put it where somebody else could find it if they need it. And on the back end, it just becomes so much harder, particularly if you are not able or available to tell somebody where to find it. And by able or available, I mean, you could be on your round the world cruise, you could be in the hospital, you could be at Roush's funeral. I don't want to sound crass about it, but there's a bunch of different ways that you're just not available to tell somebody, this is where you find this information, and this is where you see. You do have to try to organize it. That's one thing you really do need to be organized about. Other things for business owners to consider if you're just starting out, even if you're not just starting out, maybe you're just reevaluating where you are and what you want to add. Business cessation, get it out, insurance. Like, what if your business has to shut down for some reason? This became a big deal during COVID. If I just can't operate, if my business is nail salon, I got shut down. If my business is tattoo parlor, I got shut down. A lot of things had to just absolutely close. So there is insurance for that. Is it worth it for all of us to get it? Maybe not, but it's something to consider. Liability insurance you need to consider. Obviously, premises insurance, definitely. And when I say liability, that's particularly if you're doing services involving people. You want to look at what happens if our mobile van runs over somebody's foot, or somebody slips coming into my office. You need to consider what are my liabilities and my responsibility. I'm not saying everybody has to be insured up to the hilt, but it's something that you want to keep in the back of your mind as a startup business cost. And if you don't have it, you've been in business for a long time, you may want to say, maybe I should look at that, because the world is a much more litigious place too. It's not that these problems haven't always existed, but there's a lot of people out there that think this, maybe it's icy today, I'm gonna go walk in front of Lisa's office and see if maybe I could fall, and I'm sad to say that there are people out there that will do that. So you want to look at what insurances that you might need, what liability, where are your risks? Really think about where are your risks? What are my liabilities going to be? And how can I protect myself? Maybe it's just getting an insurance policy. Maybe it's writing up certain things. Maybe I need waivers for people to sign when they get my services. Have any of y'all gone skiing? Any of y'all ski? I don't know. I've only been once. When you go skiing and you're standing there in line waiting for a little wheelchair, you've got this big sign in front of the little ticket booth that type of, skiing is an inherently dangerous sport. You're doing this of your own. They have got every disclaimer in the world up on this little board, basically, so that you go on that black diamond course, that's up to you. But if you fall, it's not our fault. So again, you gotta look at, do I have?
So do those disclaimers hold up if something happens?
Yes. Well, the short answer is yes.
I got out of line.
Right.
I was like, oh no. Because I keep my leg in track.
It varies, and this is one thing, it does vary state to state. Some states are more plaintiff friendly, Some states are more defense friendly. Colorado, where I saw this, ski business, that's their thing. Okay. So that state legislature is going to pass all sorts of stuff to make sure those ski resorts can stay in business. And one of them is reducing the liability down as much as possible. So, yes, in a place like Colorado, those are going to hold up. Now, generally speaking, they still have to keep their equipment in working order because there's still a duty of care that everybody owes to you. Like if I'm running an elevator, I have a duty of care to make sure that that elevator is in working order. But it lessens their liability when they have that kind of protection. And that's why a lot of them will put disclaimers in some. The contracts you sign. The next time you got to sign a contract, as just a little fun exercise, read through it all the way to the end. Because you'll start to find there are disclaimers in those too, or terms of use, or limitations on liability, or arbitration clauses. Like if you get in a dispute, you've got to go through arbitration instead of taking it in court and anything else. And if you've got a problem with our bill, you've got 5 days to raise the, to object, or 10 days, or, I mean, it varies all across the line, but it's the kind of thing that if you're not paying attention to it, and you're not looking at it, you can get tripped up. The flip side is, as a business owner, you're going to try to stick as many of those things into your stuff as you can. I send you a bill, it's due in, 30 days. If you do not call me in 30 days and say there's a problem with the bill, I expect that you pay it. So on the business side, you want it. On the consumer side, you want to be wary. And as a business owner, you're both. You're buying from your suppliers, your vendors, subcontractors, whoever you're doing stuff with. But you're also the person selling stuff. So it's like I said, you're playing both sides of the field at the same time. But it's stuff you have to think about. I know some people have questions, but I throw this out there before I open it up for questions. The last thing I want to talk to you about is employment when you're hiring employees. Again, I know a lot of small business owners hire independent contractors. Again, please, 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 before you classify somebody as an independent contractor, sit down with the legal shield rep, or with me, or with somebody else, even a tax person, to make sure that person is truly an independent contractor. Because if at any point in time they are ever deemed to be your employee, you are going to get hit with back taxes and a whole bunch of penalties. And don't think that just because every other business like yours treats everybody as an independent contractor that they are doing it right. Because a lot of them are not. There is actually, from the IRS standpoint, there's actually about 27 things on the list to determine whether somebody is an independent contractor. And most of the time when I talk to people you're calling independent contractors only need one of those. So you really want to look at it much more closely. Because again, if one of those people gets hurt while doing your business, you're not carrying workers' comp because you called them an independent contractor, but if they file with the Workers' Comp Commission, you've now opened up a hornet's nest of problems. So I would say it's something you really don't be penny-wise and pound-foolish. Make sure that you are classifying people who work for you correctly, because the mistake of classifying them as an independent contractor when they're actually an employee could really mess you up down the line. Because that has some very stiff penalties that you end up having, because they're going to charge you for back workers' comp, back unemployment, back withholding taxes, and that can be devastating for a small business. There are some people who want to be, I want to be an independent contractor because I got 5 different jobs going on and stuff. Just make sure it actually, that it's protecting you, not just them too. And put it in writing. The other thing is, then do a contract. Do an actual contract, one of the things about independent contractors is they're supposed to be independent. So if you're telling them what to do, when to do it, how to do it, they may not be independent contractors. That's my biggest advice.
So how about those one-off things that come up where you have a job and you just need an extra hand for the day, and you talk to someone of your friends, your friend's son, and say, I'll pay you $150 to come with me to do X, Y, and Z for 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Contracts, because I know if you're an independent contractor, you still have to do a W-9 and with your employee, the person who's contracting with you and stuff.
Well, you would get a W-9 since you have their social security number, because if you're an independent contractor, what you're going to issue is a 1099 in January instead of the W-2. But what I would do for the little one-offs, and it doesn't have to be, the contract doesn't have to be 20 pages. Contract could be a letter. Just confirms that you're going to work for me on Saturday from 12 to 4, and you're getting paid $150. Sign here.
Okay.
Because again, it's obviously not like a sustaining thing. He's not making a lot of money, but it's also very clear. I expect you here this time to this time, and I've agreed to pay you this money, so it's all down there in writing. Again, going back to remember what I said, contracts in legal terms has very specific requirements: offer and acceptance, and it has to be. The main parts of the contract have to be evident from the document. When does it start? When does it end? What do you get paid? And ideally what you're doing.
Okay.
So you're fine really on that, because that's going to meet that test between independent contractor versus employee. But it's a one-off.
Right.
But now if you're hiring them every day for like 20 years or something, that might call into question some other stuff. Because, like I said, it's sort of a complicated analysis, because it involves things not just how much you're controlling what they do, but also can they work for other people while they're working for you? Can they do a number of different things? Is there anybody who's an expert in it that can say yay or nay to you? And I'm going to say no, because it's so new, and law moves so slowly to accommodate that. So, I mean, if you go strictly from in copyright law, if I write a short story with a little C down at the bottom, technically it's copyrighted. Nobody knows about that, though, unless I go register that copyright with the U.S. Copyright Office. But when I register it is sort of when people come on notice that if I see this story pop up in a magazine, and I'm like, wait a minute, that looks like word for word what I wrote. I have a way to kind of trace that back. But if you go into AI and say, I would like a little jazz style song to add to our podcast, and it comes up with a little jazz style song, you're probably fine. Not a copyright lawyer, but from my research that I have done, you're probably fine. But if you go to the AI, the prompt is, I want a song that sounds like Megan Thee Stallion singing our theme song. That might be a problem, because now you specifically, the prompt was, I want to copy somebody else's style, or I want to copy somebody else's voice. That can be a problem. And it has happened, and it's still up in the air and being litigated a lot. So I don't know where things are going to fall one way or the other on that. People are getting more and more creative about, the more people use it, the more they do it. My general feeling is that if you create it, even if you're using AI like a tool, you're probably fine. You just want to make sure. But now, if you delegate it to Mary Sue, can you come up with a little ditty that we can put on our website, a little music thing, and you don't monitor what Mary Sue uses her prompt. And her prompt was, here, I'm going to let you listen to this song that Megan Thee Stallion did, and I want you to come up with something similar, that's gonna leave you open. So again, it goes back to who's doing it, how much oversight do you have, and what your prompt is gonna be. There are a number of artists who, they're very excited to use AI in their creation of music or lyrics or even videos and stuff like that. But there's a number of artists who are scared to death because if they take your voice, take your likeness, take your talent, and generate it in a computer program, nobody's ever going to hire you again. And that's what a lot of people in the industry are very concerned with. So I think it's just, I guess when I worked in-house for a nonprofit, we would have meetings. I used to always tell people, whatever it is, give it the chicken test. For those of you who cook, if chicken smells the least bit off, throw it out. Don't eat that chicken. So if your gut's saying like, no, this song sounded awful like the Beatles when they did, then don't use it. Okay, don't use it. I mean, again, some of this is also common sense, but people say, well, you need a good lawyer. They can argue that. Yeah, sure, I can argue that. Well, this obviously is not Paul McCartney's voice because it's too high, it's too low, it's not in its range, blah, blah, blah. But it's so much easier if you just don't use Paul McCartney's voice. just don't use his voice. If it sounds too close to Paul McCartney, then you got to do something else. And I've seen some podcasters have played around with it, with using their own voices and have it generate skits with their voice. That's fine. You can play with that. Do a caricature of me, but as soon as you start involving other people's work, you know, think how would you feel if it's yours? Who here paints or writes or does anything creative? Any of So if you all of a sudden turned on the computer and you saw a picture and you're like, I could have sworn I drew that last year. You know, so how would you feel? So, you know, everybody's gonna feel that same way. I mean, it was a problem before AI, honestly, but it's AI has taken it to another level because now it can be done so fast and very accurately. So.
Does anybody else have some good questions or burning questions based on your business? Or Michelle deals with homeowners associations. Do you have any questions, Michelle? Possible? A few, not all of them, but a few about homeowners associations.
Well, yeah, I was thinking board membership in general.
That's a good one. Board, the liability of being on the board for nonprofit and for-profit.
Right, so HOAs, like nonprofit boards, government boards, like, you know, town councils and things. You mentioned that the Calvert County employees have this service as part of their benefits package, right? So so let's say you would be sued. Like our town has its own, like the municipalities of Maryland have their own insurance coverage. But like if you're on an HOA board and your board gets sued, I mean, is this something that they would want to have your package, or would they have a different kind of insurance?
You could actually use Legal Shield individually.
Mm-hmm.
The board is not covered.
Right.
If that makes sense. So it would have to be the individual weeks.
So these are really about personal matters, not necessarily your affiliation with other kinds of legal entities.
Oh, you mean for legal shit?
Yeah.
So, okay.
So in other words, if I understand your question, it's, so you have a board.
Yeah.
You got 5 people on the board. let's say 10 people on the board, would Legal Shield be something that you could offer to each of them
Yeah.
individually, but the board as a whole
Board has its own coverage,
wouldn't
but then
have?
would it be duplicative then to have?
Is that, it would depend on whether it's a business. Generally, we don't cover boards like that because they're not an entity. Does that make sense?
This is an entity.
So
Yeah.
it's a board
Yeah.
entity.
Well, is it a homeowners association, Inc.? Yeah, so that would be, I know you said like there's the board of the homeowners association, but then there are also members of the
Yep.
homeowners association.
Right.
So the homeowners association as a whole could have Legal Shield, probably.
As a whole, they can have
Right,
it.
but your
But
individual
your
members-
board wouldn't have, the individual board members would have it,
Yeah.
but it wouldn't be a small business coverage. Is that what you're
Oh,
asking?
okay. And then let's say our members wanted to sue the board, and I noticed there's civil protection, there's civil trial hours. in there.
Yes, we have trial defense
And-
hours.
It's a lot of hours, and it rolls over every year, right? So,
And because it's bumped up every year, like 60 hours, until you get to like 300 hours.
and then it said that it does not cover cases where there's not a likelihood of you winning. So who makes that determination then in your company?
It would not be me.
Might be one of the
That would
lawyers
be one
they
of
have
the,
on.
that would be the attorneys.
Okay.
It would not be, it's not us or our corporate office. The law firms dictate, because they're the officers of the court. So they dictate what they, how they see it. You go in and have the consultation, and they decide, let you know where you stand.
But like, for instance, if you were gonna have your homeowners association, the whole association get Legal Shield, where you could call and say, hey, can we do this, and
Yeah.
give you general advice, that would be fine. But say, for instance, your members of the homeowners association, I'm assuming one of the things that you probably have to work out with Legal Shield is that they can't use Legal Shield to sue the board, because that's a conflict. That's an inherent conflict of interest already there, even if it's two different law firms. It's still, if we're all under Legal Shield, we're gonna have an issue.
Yeah, that's what. Just like when we have employees, whoever the member is the person who signs up.
Right.
So I sign up as the member, my husband can't use it against me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
He would have to go outside because I am the member. Does that make sense? If she has Legal Shield and I have Legal Shield, whoever calls in first, and then the law firm deems, well, you know what, this is a conflict of interest, period, and we're gonna resource it out. We already have our referral network already set up.
So everyone can use the service, it's just not the same law firms are gonna be assigned to the same case.
It depends on, if you and I are against each other, they may refer me out if you call them first.
Right, but we can still both have Legal Shield, I guess that's my question.
We can still both have it.
Yeah, so you can have Legal Shield, but it doesn't mean that the same.
It does not mean, yeah,
Right.
you're definitely not gonna get the same, they're both not gonna be able to use freedom friendly as Rush. They may say, Tony needs to go over here to
Right,
this.
but we can both have the monthly $50 service.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so,
And I think what you are pointing to as far as the terms are concerned, I'm going to just say this, that doesn't have a high probability of success. You don't want to be using Legal Shield for cases that are actually not any good, if I can say it that way.
Well, actually, you don't want to be using a lawyer at all.
No.
Don't come to me. Don't come to me.
You don't wanna call anybody in case
But I
about
would
doesn't make
say,
sense.
Legal Shield, my sister had Legal Shield, and they were so good to her. They were so good to her. I think the lawyer
That's
became
why
a
they're
therapist. I mean,
It's probably
Yeah.
because they're still in business,
Yeah.
because a lot of people are going out of business. A lot of organizations, but Legal Shield has stayed.
Almost
Yeah,
54 years.
that's right. They were really, I can only sing praises because they did
54 years.
a beautiful job with her.
And it really, it's a testament to who they get to work with them, because again, I'm not gonna lie, we attorneys are expensive. We are expensive. So
Talk about retainers, Lisa, because I had a retainer with a firm, and it was and I'll tell you guys, even though we're recording, I don't mind. It was with this 8A, the 8A program was having all the firms that were in the 8A program. The SBA had a quote unquote demand for us to submit to an audit, and so I was trying to decide, okay, if I don't submit to this audit, I got an opinion from someone.
mm-hmm.
But the opinion, it ultimately came down to what I felt I needed to do, basically, because everybody's different.
Right.
So this person, this attorney, who was quote unquote more of an experience in 8A matters,
Mm-hmm.
I got a retainer, and I didn't. It wasn't bad or anything like that. But I told the person, I said, now, you really need to explain how the retainer works.
Okay.
And I think most of us don't understand how the retainer works.
And I do blame television for that, because a lot of times, you never think might get Perry Mason never got paid. I don't know what was going on. So there's
Right.
a lot of different ways we lawyers charge. There's a consultation. Consultation is, I haven't decided if I'm hiring anybody yet, but I want to come in and talk to somebody. Some lawyers will give you a free consultation. Sometimes they will time limit it, 30-minute free or something. Some lawyers will give you an hour. Some will say, if you come in and you want me to ask me questions, it will cost you X dollars. And that can be anywhere from $50 to $400 or $500. Some people, they won't let you in the door until you pay $1,000, depends on where you are. All of this is driven by markets too, in terms of whether, are you talking DC, or are you talking Calvert, are you talking New York City, are you talking Montgomery County versus Prince George's County? Because we charge differently even within the state of Maryland in terms of that. So, and again, it varies on the matter that you're coming in on. If you're coming in with a yes/no question, which almost nobody is, but a lot of people try to say, can I do blah, blah, blah? I'm like, well, that depends. But if you're coming in with a yes/no question, it might be a situation where a lawyer will give you a free consultation, because you're going to be in and out the door. If you're coming in with I need to tell you my life story before you understand where I am, before I sue my employer, you're already now in my office for 3 hours. Sometimes. Sometimes it's only an hour. So you're not getting away with a free consultation with that. I will say younger lawyers are probably more likely to do free consultations, because they think that's how they get people in the door. Once you've become seasoned, once you've leveled up like myself, then you're like, okay, I already know. That's how I screen. We talk about, is the case likelihood of success. If you cannot afford to pay to come sit in front of me and tell me your problem, you cannot afford me. And I hate to be blunt, but that's really kind of it. Or are you serious? Because people who are like, well, I don't know. You don't know how many people, when I was a younger lawyer, coming in, oh, I forgot my checkbook. Oh, I don't have my card here. Anyway, to me, it's just like going in to anybody. You're going to pay something. That's a consultation. You haven't even retained anybody. So there's that. So you do have to base it off of, okay, I want some basic information. Do I pay that money? I'm going to tell you 8 times out of 10 you want to pay the money, because you need to talk to somebody to get an actual opinion, not a cursory, oh yeah, that should be okay. You really want to sit down with somebody. If you're actually retaining somebody, you're now saying, I am going to hire you to do this legal thing for me, whatever the matter is. Attorneys charge 3 ways. Flat fee, hourly, contingent. Flat fee is basically, you come in, I want you to review this contract for me. I can charge you a flat fee, of something, usually. Because that's something I know, it's a one-off. You're coming in, I'm sitting down, I'm reading the thing, I'm going to tell you what's in the thing, and then you're going to go on your merry way and do what you want to do. Hourly is typically used for litigation or any kind of long-term, something that's going to take more than a day to do. What that means is I'm charging you an hourly rate. If I spend an hour on something, you're going to pay a certain rate. If it's half an hour, you pay half that rate. And you get actually an itemized, you're supposed to get an itemized list of what I did and how much time I spent on each thing. Hourly rates also vary depending on what market you're in, the experience level of the attorney, and the matter that you're handling. Most attorneys who charge hourly are going to want a retainer deposit. What you do is you're paying, and I'm just going to pick a number at it. If I told you the retainer deposit was $5,000, I bill my time against that $5,000. So if I spend an hour, I deduct the hourly rate from the $5,000, and you'll get like a little running total. And if we finish the matter before we run out of that $5,000 that you deposit, you'll get the unused portion back. If the matter keeps going, you may have to put more in because I do the job, I get paid. The longer it goes, the more you pay. So that's why with litigation, the cost can actually get astronomical, even if you have a good case, because that is, for a business owner, you're constantly trying to weigh cost benefit. Contingent matters are, you don't pay me anything unless I get your money. Those are very unique. They tend to be personal injury type cases, or cases where the payout is going to be very large. Mostly it's personal injury. And even in those cases, you have to remember that you may still be responsible for your contracts, your retainer agreements. You may still be responsible for the expenses, even if you don't end up paying the fees. And that's usually where somebody says, I'll get 30%, 40%, 50% of the return. We mentioned like collections. Most lawyers who do collections charge a percentage. If I get 30% of whatever I collect from you, and that's how they get paid. So, a lot of people like the contingency. It's the one that they like to show on TV a lot because people are thinking, I don't have to pay money out of my pocket. I will tell you, 9 out of 10 attorneys do not approve. It's just, most matters just don't lend themselves to contingency. Personal injury is one of those unique cases that does. Maybe employment law, but not really. Not really. And as a small business person, what I find that with a contingent, either the client is mad because they feel you got a windfall. I'm going to take 30% of that. Maybe it only took me 2 hours, and then they're like, oh my God, she didn't do anything. Or the attorney's going to feel judged. I put in 1,000 hours, and I'm only getting X dollars. So that's why it's not actually the more common factor. The more common one is the hourly retainer. You're putting down money, the attorney is billing their time against that. That's why you do need to know what the hourly rate is. And like I said, that varies matter to matter, county to county, attorney to attorney.
You have a question, Michelle?
Oh, yes. So I was going to say a lot of situations that we deal with in our neighborhood, people don't know if they have a case or not. So to pay a huge amount of money for a consultation, and I know that varies by matter because in your case, you're doing a specific type of law in this, in these scenarios. So it would be helpful if we would have the opportunity to call someone and ask them and have them have this situation evaluated, because we face situations all the time where it's written in black and white in the law, like you can literally read it.
Yeah.
It is likely, it can be interpreted, but there's not that, like for example, a notice period. So you have to give 30 days notice for various things, or you have to give a notice period for various things in HOA stuff. We know that in a certain situation that didn't happen. It's written in black and white, multiple people have read it, and we would need a legal, someone to review that or someone to talk to about that, to send a letter saying, but so like a consultation fee, like nobody's gonna pay $350.
But see, you don't need a consultation for that.
Yeah.
So, I will say, like But then again, not every law office is the same. If you call my office, I have an extremely good paralegal. She's not allowed to give legal advice. But if you call her and say, I have this notice period, I'm trying to figure out how long it runs and what
Yeah.
we need to do, I mean, honestly, we will probably talk to you on the phone for 30 minutes and give you an answer without you ever coming in the door, because we don't need to, like you say, it's black and white. But sometimes, but if you're saying, I need you to write a letter to do something, now you're asking me to do something.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna charge. If you go to the great people at Legal Shield, they can answer your question and probably do your letter. And it's probably a more cost-effective use.
You can
Yeah.
do a letter, however, but I mean, everything she said is amazing, and just our law firms work the same way. We have what we call service level agreements. So if
Depending on how long.
if you call into the law firm, they have 4 to 8 business hours to call you back. If you need a document review, they have 2 to 3 days to review that document. It's not gonna happen the same day. You know, when you call them and you say, I have some concerns, okay, now we need to take this to the attorney is gonna go into that, okay, so this is what we're gonna do, this is how we need to proceed, this is what it's gonna cost you. Up front, you know, and I know because I've been here. When I had guardianship with my grandson, okay, I needed to put up $10,000, and everything he did was built against that $10,000. And what by the time he was out, he got me like $6,800 back. So, and it worked out in my favor. You know, now that doesn't always happen. You know, we had that trial defense. So if someone was trying to sue me, I had over 300 hours for a long time now. But I have 300 hours of trial defense attorney's time. But that does not say that I don't pay anything else. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. That doesn't say that I don't pay for if they have to do investigation and that type of thing. The attorney's fees are covered. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
When in at $300. So we don't ever want anybody to think they're gonna go out here and commit a murder. You know, it's gonna be $38 a month. But that's not
Anyway, it's not criminal.
right. You know, but we do criminal. We are a full service law firm. But again, at that 25% preferred member discount for those types of things.
Okay, I didn't see the.
Yeah, there's a 25% preferred member discount for things that don't happen every day.
Right.
The big ticket items that are different for you than they are for me. You know, that pre-existing thing. You know, so
Just to also kind of give you an idea, so you can certainly, you can do the legal shield membership so you can call, and that's probably more cost effective if you're really on a tight budget. Now I do have, again, every law firm's are criminal, but I do have some small business clients who keep me on retainer. And by retainer, I mean they keep anywhere from $500 to $1,000 in the trust account, so that when they have those one-off situations, they can just call and say, hey, what about XYZ? Or we need to update the handbook. Can you do that? And it's there. But not every business has enough liquid cash to say, I'm going to let Lisa hold $1,000 for me. So when I need it. And the clients that I have who do that they definitely tend to have employees, because those are the ones that tend to generate the, oh my God, this happened today. And it's weird because I'll get half a dozen calls in a month from that client, and then I won't hear from them for like 4 years. And then yeah, it's just like, it's like everything will roll downhill all at once, and then it stops and they're back on track. But they've been around a while, and that is something that they can do with their budget. Not every small business person can do that. Can say, oh, let me just park this amount of money over here. And that's why I think each organization, whether it be a nonprofit, whether it be a homeowners association, whether it be sole proprietorship or an LLC, you have to really know what's your price point. Like what can I part with, and how much do I think I'm going to need to call? Almost anybody dealing with the public might have to call a lot, but if you're customer base is a little more targeted, you may not have to do that. Most of the nonprofits I've worked with, it's usually questions about employment issues aside, because everybody's got employment issues. But it tends to be like, hey, we need to do a contract for this, or we're gonna purchase that, or this donation came in, or this donor wants to do this, but they have all these conditions, can we find out about it? So it's just, it really depends on, you have to look at what are you hoping you can do with the legal stuff. Is it, I need to be able to call somebody and say, hey, can you kick out a quick notice letter or something like that. And just, again, how often it happens. Because lawyers like everyone else, we deal in volume too. If it's something that's very quick, yeah, sure, you can do that and we'll get it done because we've done a bajillion of them for you already. Like the firms that, and that's the other thing you'll too find, when you go out to look for a lawyer, you need to be very, I don't want to say specialized, because in Maryland we don't have recognized specialties per se, but we all do certain things. Like, if you called me and said, I have a tax question, I would say that's very nice, let me give you somebody else to talk to, because that's not something I do every day all day. Do I know some tax stuff? Sure, but it's not my wheelhouse. I don't do it every day. Same with criminal. You need to call a criminal attorney. I know some very good ones here. Let me give you the list. So yeah, you want to make sure that you are talking to the right person too, because Lord knows I have had even attorneys who are like, well, I thought that this happened in probate. I'm like, well, what kind of lawyer are you? Well, I do mergers and acquisitions. Well, you know what? You don't know a thing about probate. So, okay. But it happens.
Lisa, did you have a question?
I just wanted to say that I've had Legal Shield for I have several businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you, when I don't get paid, I just send the information and my checks start rolling in. Also, I have it for a personal, my life, because sometimes you can be all over the place, and it's so good to upload your bank accounts and your good stuff, and it's protected, so I can say more, but I have notes, I'm gonna drive that.
Yeah, elder care too.
Oh, yes, we do, a lot of care senior services, so we provide services to seniors, and we're celebrating 17 years in September, and you have to be protected.
Yeah.
And we do a lot of interviewing, and the people that we are interviewing now are not the people we were interviewing 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So we're pivoting and we're dotting every I and crossing every T, and my assistants, they're looking at me like, another form? Absolutely, because if I have to go to court, you're not coming with me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm protecting myself.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. Thank you, Tanya. Tanya is our board president, so.
Legal Shield has a 3-tiered plan, so we let people build their own sandwich. And based upon what you need, everybody doesn't need every service. So we don't want them to spend more money than they need to spend for their service, okay? But again, it's the attorneys ultimately, that is, once you talk to them, that decide what it is that you need and how you need it. We don't, again, I'm not an attorney or we play loans. But we're blessed to be able to do what we do and give people access. We're not here again to replace anyone, because there are some amazing attorneys out here. And we're blessed because of the collective buying power that we have to have some of the best attorneys all across the country. Our law firm in Owens Mills is like 102 years old. So, and they've invested with us for almost 30 years now. So, and be safe. I wanted to point to the sun out there.
It's good.
The young lady in the blue shirt, you're getting started, you're a sole proprietor. How long have you been in business?
I've been in business since 2017,
Okay.
and I'm a 1099. I do I'm independent contractor for a variety of different firms. I provide a professional service as a professional organizer. And I don't normally have employees, but I subcontract with a lot of other people who do this just because I didn't want to put in the effort to have a website, build a business, and there's enough business in the DC area to have some fun time doing something I really like.
So how did you hear about the event tonight on the library?
Library website, yeah.
Because, you know, we're glad because as you can see between Tanya and Lisa, Lisa is, you have your card, Lisa?
I do.
And you can pass, please. Lisa's been a founding member of the Calvert County Minority Business Alliance since we started 20 years ago. Okay, so we're having our 20-year anniversary coming up. And Tanya also works with another one of the, Tanya has just joined the Calvert County Minority Business Alliance, and she works with a partner here with her legal shield practice. They, you know, she can refer to another person, but she also has services that she provides. But it doesn't have to be through the Calvert County Minority Business Alliance. You see what I'm saying? So we all, but like you all see, we all refer and help to refer one another because Michael knows a lot. Roseanne is a nonprofit. Michelle, like Homeowners Association. Haley and Hannah went and worked with a trademark or copyright. They told me, Mother, you have to get your things copyrighted and trademarked. But with that said, we will always refer and make sure that if there's something that, like you said, with legal, like a lawyer, a good lawyer. When I set up my business in 2004, I went through Small Business Development Center, but they provided me a discount to an attorney at that particular time. And that attorney, he gave me a discounted rate on the things that I had to set up. He was located here in Prince Frederick, but you know, it was worth it because I still have all that stuff and I have it, like you said, Lisa. But I'm not saying that I don't need, because I would come if I needed something from Lisa or Tanya or whoever, I would definitely go to them and have a consultation or something to make sure but I'm gonna start with them if that's something that they do.
And I do offer discounts for Calvert County Minority Business Alliance.
All right. There you go.
Unless you said something nasty.
But we're about, thank you so much. And we're about 7:30. And does anybody else have anything they want to say or ask or? Okay, well, we're having the Calvert County Minority Business Alliance will be hosting its 20-year anniversary. We hope that you all can come, and we will recognize all of our members and partners. And at our 10-year reunion, I think Lisa, you remember that 10-year reunion.
I know, which is
10
weird.
years.
How that just happened. So.
Yeah, that seemed like that just happened. So we hope that if anybody needs a flyer and the information, and Roseanne, give it. Rosanna had something for you.
Just tokens from the CCMBA. And Tanya, you are a member, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I looked.
I might not be on the site yet.
Well, we getting ready.
You keep getting me straight.
Oh, okay.
There was an opening?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
One thing is that CCMBA membership is at no charge at this point. And so when you sign up, you go in and sign up. Women, veterans, there's a lot of people who are minorities according to I forget who's doing it now, the definition. Right.
But anybody can join. Anyone can join.
Yes, and that is true. You can even be from a different county, which is, we do have other counties represented. So anyway, yeah.
Thank you.